Hello and welcome to JAR City Session 4. For this lesson, you will need the following materials, including your volunteer guidebook, the student table tents, and the junior journal worksheet, as well as be prepared to access the digital presentation for this lesson found at learn.ja.org. You can work with your classroom teacher to determine whether you or the teacher will be responsible for pulling up the digital presentation each time you visit the classroom. We recommend asking the teacher to have the presentation ready for you if possible. To aid in preparation and facilitation, you'll see in the guidebook blue text boxes which contain JA of South Dakota session-specific teaching tips, and yellow text boxes that include vocabulary terms and presentation content that's not already provided in the guidebook. Please start today's lesson by greeting students and passing out their name tags from previous lessons. Tell students that in Session 4, money flows in the city, that in a thriving city, people, businesses, and city government exchange money and make money choices. The next slide shows a picture of the Junior Journal worksheet for this session. The Junior Journal can be used to support the optional money moves through a city activity later in the session if you choose to complete the activity. It also contains a QR code for students to access the Save the City game if necessary and helpful if you choose to do that activity instead. All right, so from here, consider asking the students to think about what they would do if they earned $5 for cleaning their room. Please point out that while earn is an option on the screen, they should think about whether they would choose to save, give, or spend the money that they've already earned. Call on several students to share or have students share with a classmate sitting near them. Tell students that much like they have to make decisions about what to do with their own money, cities also need to make decisions for what to do with a city's money. The next slide features the music video, Money Flows, featuring our new character, Jade. Those who are familiar with the 3rd grade curriculum may notice that the cha-ching videos and characters have been removed as JA no longer has license to use these characters. The video will be available for all 5 sessions of the JAR City program, and it is up to the volunteer's discretion as to whether you play the video during one, several, or all of your visits. Moving forward, for the money exchange discussion, we recommend that prior to class, you think of a story that showcases how your buying choices impact other consumers and businesses where you live and work. The next slide showcases this session's vocabulary terms. This slide is interactive and provides an opportunity for students to come up and select the vocabulary card to reveal the definition. I recommend asking students to think about how they would define each of the terms before revealing the definition or brainstorming what they might already know. Make sure to draw a connection between taxes and city government. Ask students to share what they think the money collected from taxes is spent on. The next slide continues the discussion about taxes. Please emphasize that a city government relies on money collected from taxes to help the city run well. Tell students that taxes are subtracted from pay when people earn money, and it's also taken away from our money when we buy things in stores. This is a great opportunity to bring a receipt from a purchase or to challenge students to find a receipt at home and look for the taxes paid. On the next slide, you have 2 options. So you may either choose to play the Save the City activity, or you can choose to do the money moves in a city activity. You will not have time for both in most cases. The first way to implement the activity is if this Save the City activity requires student Chromebooks or student iPads, whatever devices students have, if available in the classroom. I would work with your classroom teacher to help you set up the game, and then students can access the game at the link or the URL in the guidebook, or your teacher will also be sent an email with a link as well. Your junior journal has a QR code printed at the top right here that students can use to access the game. And the point of this game is that when students enter, they have to make decisions about money for their city. And as a class, they're acting as a city. So if everyone's choosing to save, how does that negatively impact the city? If everyone's choosing to spend, how does that negatively impact the city? So the students are going to have to try to balance their money choices as a class, as a city, but they might not necessarily know in the game that that's what they're doing the first round. I would recommend playing several rounds of this game. It's fairly simple to restart and set up and give the kids a new code. And then each round, I would recommend playing 2 or 3 rounds of about anywhere between 2 and 5 minutes, depending on your class. And then for the money moves in a city, which is your other option, split the students in your classroom into groups of 5 and hand each group a scenario card provided in your packet. You will have to separate these before you go into the classroom, but there are scenarios for each group. And you're going to hand one out to each of the groups. Students will select a number from their groups in the scenario to act out. So it's more of a reader's theater situation. And so give students about 4 or 5 minutes to kind of practice their roles. And the roles in the scenarios are all featuring making money choices. The characters are either earning or saving or buying something or giving or donating money. So have students give them some time to practice around the classroom quietly. And then once you're ready, you can call on 1 or 2 or maybe all the groups, depending on the time you have left in class. And the students will stand up in the front of the classroom and they will act out their scenario for the class. And they can do it. They can have the money card right in front of them and they can read it as they act it out, or you can read it after they've acted. And you can do that on the screen. You can see if you click, you can see each of these. And so the kids get to kind of pick out how they're going to act out their situation. And the students who are watching, who are not acting, are going to be using their junior journal to record. They'll do a tally for every time they hear a character earning money. They'll do a tally for each time they hear an example of buying, and so on and so forth. So the kids that are not actively acting out their scenarios, they're listening and they're just tallying as you go, and feel free to go through the answers once all the students have acted out if you have time. And you will see that each of the scenarios are covered on the next few slides here. And so whether you choose to go and play Save the City for this lesson, or you choose the Money Moves in a City activity, you will end up with a review discussion on this slide, and you will use the slide to help students reflect on the importance of spending money and paying taxes in a city. So prompt the students to think about what a city that didn't have taxes might look like, and just talk about the importance of where our tax dollars are going and what that helps for how that helps our city. Tell students that they can keep their junior journal worksheets at the end of the lesson. Remember, either you or the teachers should collect these student name tents at the end of each lesson, since it will be needed for the following lesson. And with that, that brings you to an end of JAR City Session 4.